49ers 53-man roster is officially set. Now, we should emphasize it's the initial 53-man roster. This sucker is still going to undergo dozens and dozens of changes over the course of this 2022 season. But today is the day of the most carnage as far as cuts go, right? Around the NFL, you see teams have to go from 80 to 53. That's 27 players per team, 32 teams in the league. I'm not very good at math, and I don't have a calculator. But that's probably something between 800 and 900 players who effectively got fired today. Now, a lot of them are going to pick up new jobs, but there are a few hundred of that group that won't. So it's a tough day around the league, and the 49ers had to make some tough cuts today to get from 80 to 53. It's a white or cream blazer day. Unusual, but I think it's a big deal. I think this roster cut down officially means that regular season mode can begin. We're going to head back out to practice at the 49ers facility in Santa Clara on Thursday. We're going to get to see Jimmy Garoppolo alongside Trey Lance, presumably. And we're going to get to see players wearing new numbers, thanks to the fact that the roster has been trimmed and numbers have opened up. And I'm sure that guys will have different preferences now. So we're switching modes here, and I'm going to analyze it today. Up on the screen, 49ers 53-man roster breakdown, 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, and other twists in this 49ers roster. If you want to go check that out on The Athletic, as I hope that you do, go ahead and go into that chat section. Look at the link that I am copying and pasting right about now. There you go. Go and check that out. Subscribe to The Athletic. Obviously, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. And if you're following along on Twitter, then you're getting a lot of good stuff in real time as well. Might as well welcome everybody to our 2022 49ers coverage. It has been lit so far this entire month. It's August 30th, so we're about to turn the page into September. This entire month has sure seen a roller coaster of events, from Deebo Samuel's contract signing, re-signing with the 49ers after all of that drama, to the Jimmy Garoppolo re-signing yesterday, which is obviously huge news for the 49ers because they have such an insulated quarterback room. Well, at The Athletic, we are covering everything in depth, including that Jimmy Garoppolo situation. We've already written several articles about that. I've talked about that on multiple podcasts and videos, and I will show you guys Matt Barrow's article, which you should check out right here. This is what Barrows wrote. Worried about Trey Lance? Worried about the Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo dynamic? The 49ers consider it a coup. They do. They consider it a coup. Everything here, this is what I have to say about the Garoppolo situation before we break down this 53-man roster. Shanahan and Lynch agree with everything that we said about Jimmy Garoppolo yesterday. It's almost like they did the press conference yesterday. Like every single point. And it's because it's rational logic. You know, I always say facts over feelings. I feel a lot of social media is using their feelings here. And when you use your feelings, you have to realize that there's a subset of people that hates Jimmy Garoppolo, and there's a subset of people that loves Jimmy Garoppolo. And there doesn't seem to be anything in between, right? So if we just approach this with an even-keeled reporters kind of way, if we just look at this rationally, we don't deal with either of those two camps. And we just look and see what the 49ers are doing as a football team. And we determine if it makes their football team better or worse. And we evaluate why they chart each course of action, both from a financial sense and a football sense. And when we apply that lens to the Garoppolo situation and him re-signing with the 49ers for a discount, there's absolutely nothing that can be argued against from a factual perspective. You can argue against it emotionally. Go ahead. But we're not going to do that on this channel. We're going to argue stuff factually. There's nothing not to like about bringing Jimmy Garoppolo, a bona fide NFL starter, in to be your backup at a major discount. Kyle Shanahan said that, you know, there aren't 32 starting quarterbacks in this league from a quality perspective. Well, the 49ers have 2 of them. So there's teams that were going to be searching for starting quarterbacks in terms of quality, and the 49ers have 2. They have an embarrassment of riches between Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Anyway, this video is not going to be focused all on Jimmy Garoppolo. I wanted to go through the 49ers 53-man roster. So we're going to be talking about that. Here we go. The 49ers roster breakdown, where they did carry 3 quarterbacks. That's kind of a Garoppolo domino effect with Brock Purdy being on the roster. 5 running backs, unprecedented for Kyle Shanahan. and some other surprises. So we're going to take this position by position. We're probably going to pop open the depth chart, which you can check out at the link that I'm putting in the chat section right now, and it's up on the screen. And it's crazy to, have the entire right side of this chart, as I make this a little bit wider just to show you, empty for the time being. There's nobody on the right side because the projection portion of this is done. Now I'm going to repopulate the right side to the practice squad, but the 49ers and their 16-player practice squad, they haven't begun signing players to that yet. That's going to be coming here within the next couple of days. So for now, you can go ahead and check out this roster. We'll put it up on the screen. 1 second, I got to send a quick text message, and then we will be off and running. So hello, everybody, and welcome. File in, grab your beer. It's happy hour, 5:27 p.m., and enjoy. It's been a busy couple days, so hopefully we can provide a nice summation with this show. All right, text is fired off. Still have people gathering. I see that people kind of probably exhausted after the past 24 hours or so because we had 1,000 people a little bit earlier. Not quite as many right now, but I'm sure everybody will watch as this show progresses. All right, so we're going to go through it position by position. First, quarterback on this 53-man roster, and I'll open up the depth chart here. We can make this a little bit bigger on the screen as we talk about every single one of these positions. Lance, Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy are the 49ers' 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. Obviously, this was not in most people's projections because even Kyle Shanahan was surprised that Jimmy Garoppolo ultimately re-signed with the 49ers. They didn't think that he would be in position to take a discount. They thought he'd be offered, more somewhere else via a trade. Didn't end up happening. That works in the 49ers' benefit. It's the logical next business step for the 49ers. Shanahan today confirmed that Shanahan confirmed that Garoppolo will be active and quarterback number 2 for the 49ers season opener at Chicago on September 11th. For some reason, there had been some question about that in social media circles. I don't know why, but to me, it was obvious. If you're paying a quarterback over $6.5 million, and that's the guaranteed amount for Garoppolo, plus he gets $500,000 of total per game roster bonus money. Well, if you're paying him that much, he better be active. He better be your QB2. And that indeed was verified by Kyle Shanahan today. So the 49ers have Garoppolo in tow. He'll be 2. Brock Purdy is on board as quarterback number 3. Why did they decide to carry Brock Purdy on the 53-man roster, even though they might have been able to sneak him through to the practice squad? Well, wasn't a guarantee that they'd be able to sneak Purdy into the practice squad. But even if, there's a little bit of a question, you want to err on the side of caution, especially with quarterbacks, because of team control. When you draft somebody, you are entitled to sign them to a contract that is cost controlled with 4 years of team control. And for a QB, especially if he develops and becomes a legitimate QB in the National Football League, that's huge. 4 years and an affordable price for how much that position is going for. If the 49ers had waived Brock Purdy, they would have terminated that rookie contract, which was so valuable, which they used that Mr. Irrelevant number 262 draft pick on. They didn't want to terminate the contract because they'd lose the potential team control. So by keeping Purdy and not terminating his contract, they maintain what they initially drafted and signed Purdy to. And now he can develop behind both Lance and Garoppolo. Now, in the event that the 49ers do trade Jimmy at some point in this 2022 season, Purdy could slide right up into QB2. Now, the 49ers did cut Nate Sudfeld. He's gone. And that means that $2 million fully guaranteed to him. Unless somebody else picks Sudfeld up, they're going to have to eat that money. I expect somebody to pick Sudfeld up. And I don't expect him to make much more than the league minimum because teams will know that the 49ers have this offset. So I think he'll make the league minimum wherever he goes. And if he doesn't, there's going to be, usually there is a spot elsewhere in the league for a backup quarterback. And it might not be because of injuries and stuff. It might not be in week 1. But wherever Sudfeld goes, as soon as he starts making money, and the league minimum's around $1 million, there's offset language in his deal with the 49ers that would make them owe less of that $2 million fully guaranteed. So obviously the 49ers plans changed over the course of time since they gave Nate Sudfeld that $2 million fully guaranteed. That will eat into their cap situation, at least somewhat. but we'll see how much of that is offset. All right, that's the quarterback position. Got to send one more text here. And we'll move on to the running back position. All right, running backs. 6 of them, including Kyle Juszczyk. And 5 running backs is unprecedented for Kyle Shanahan. We've never seen it before with him at the controls as the head coach. We've seen 4 before. I mean, there was a day and age where Kyle Shanahan would carry only 3 running backs. He's not carried only 3. He's not carried only 4. He is now carrying 5 running backs on the 49ers 53-man roster. And it looks like this. It's essentially invalidated the debate that a lot of people had fabricated on Twitter between Trey Sermon and Jordan Mason, because the 49ers are carrying both of them. Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon, Ty Davis-Price, Jordan Mason, and number 6 is the fullback, Kyle Juszczyk. So we technically consider Kyle Juszczyk to be an honorary running back, but as you know, we knew that he was going to make the team. The question for me at fullback is, do the 49ers bring Josh Hokett back into the fold moving forward? But look at that. 5 running backs for the 49ers. It's one of those things where they're focusing so much on durability this year that you saw this coming, right? Last season, maybe you didn't see 5 coming, but you saw the increasing focus on durability just building up over time. And last year, they had to resort to Deebo Samuel playing running back because everybody got hurt. And Jacques Patrick and other guys off the street were coming into the 49ers building to take a few carries at a time. Kyle Shanahan didn't want that anymore. Kyle Shanahan was sick of it. And when you look at the overall construction of this roster, you see that they're built to run. A, the quarterback, QB1, is a running quarterback in Trey Lance. B, they've got 6 of these guys, 5 running backs and 1 fullback. And C, they've got 4 tight ends, plus Deebo Samuel. So they have D. So there's reasons A, B, C, and D why the 49ers are going to run the hell out of the football this year. So because they obviously want to do that, and because when they tried to do that last year, they really strained their numbers and they had to move to Deebo Samuel running to sustain the offense, Kyle Shanahan said, to hell with it. I want to make sure that I have enough running backs to, be healthy and last the season. I don't want to cut a guy like I cut Wayne Gallman last year. Well, he did cut JaMycal Hasty, who actually ironically beat out Wayne Gallman last season, but he kept the other 5 running backs. And there's a commonality here. All of them weigh over 210 pounds. All of them are part of the 49ers let's bulk up our running backs program from the course of this past offseason. Davis-Price, 220. Jordan Mason, 223. Trey Sermon has bulked up to about 215. Elijah Mitchell to about 213. And Jeff Wilson is somewhere around 215 pounds as well. All of these guys have put on muscle. We are past the days of the small 49ers running backs who got bruised all the time. Now, if you do see injuries, it's going to be to bigger backs. And, maybe there's a reason why all of these guys were healthy on cutdown day. Normally, cutdown day had solved some of the 49ers roster quandaries for them. Not this time, because everybody was still healthy. So the 49ers solved the roster quandary themselves by just carrying all these running backs. And it's only the smaller back, the 205-pound JaMycal Hasty, that didn't make the roster. So get ready for the 49ers to run the hell out of the football. Get ready for them to be physical. Get ready for some inside zone. Anthony Lynn loves that inside zone, the new running backs coach. And get ready for some running offshoots from the read option, because we know that Trey Lance is going to run the read option. This team was one of only 2 teams in football in recent years that ran the ball more than it passed the ball. And that was even with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. Well, guess what? With Trey Lance at quarterback, that's going to become an even more extreme division of plays. The 49ers are going to run more, and it's not just because of Lance. It's because of the personnel that they have decided to carry here on the 53-man roster, the running back position. Unprecedented stuff from Kyle Shanahan. All right, moving on to the receiver room. 5 of them. This one surprised me a bit. I don't want to say sure, but I was confident that the 49ers were going to take Malik Turner as receiver number 6. Now, the 5 wideouts that they did take, that's no surprise at all. It was always going to be Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings. You're going to have 3 third wide receivers, essentially. You have 2 top dogs, and you have 3 wide receiver 3s. Jennings is your big slot. Danny Gray is your speedster, right? Below the top off the defense, gives a new dimension to Kyle Shanahan's offense. And Ray McLeod is more of your gadget weapon, who's obviously going to be a big deal in special teams in that return game. So 1 through 5, not surprised at all. Barring injury, this is the way it was always going to be. But I thought they would take 6 for the sole purpose of special teams because Malik Turner, such a good gunner, made plays as the up man for the 49ers during the preseason. Good route runner. Shanahan was glowing about him during these press conferences in recent days. And, it's possible the 49ers had Malik Turner on the inside of their roster picture, but stuff got a little bit shaken up when they had to add that third quarterback, right? With Jimmy Garoppolo, and then they decided, okay, well, Brock Purdy, we don't want to waive him. We want to keep those contractual rights for 4 years, team control for 4 years. They probably had a cut elsewhere. And one of the spots where it looks like they cut was wide receiver. Now, Turner can theoretically return to the football team, and maybe the 49ers do it after week 1 because he's a veteran. And best at veterans like that, if they sign with a team after week 1, they will no longer be guaranteed their entire salary for the 2022 season, the full season. If a veteran is on a team through week 1, then he's guaranteed for the rest of the year. So being on that roster on September 10th, that was the issue with Garoppolo, right? That he'd be guaranteed the salary for the whole year. Well, with Malik Turner, that would have been the case too if he had made the team. So maybe the 49ers circle back and bring him back after week 1, but that would only be possible if somebody else doesn't snatch him up. And boy, I thought that he did such a great job, has been a really good special teams player, and his route running is exceptional. It probably will be surprising if nobody around the league does pick up Malik Turner, and I don't think the 49ers will be in position to scoop him up if that is the case. All right, moving on to tight ends. I put 4 there. Maybe I should amend this to say only 3. Because technically they have 4, but today they carried only 3. George Kittle, Ross Dwelley, Charlie Werner. Tyler Kroft will be a part of this football team. He has agreed to re-sign with the 49ers tomorrow or a little bit later this week after they open up 2 spots on injured reserve. Those spots on IR belong to Jimmy Ward and Curtis Robinson. Robinson, high ankle sprain, Ward, hamstring tear. The 49ers needed to carry them on the 53-man so that both players would be eligible to return this year by league rule. So they're both on the 53-man. After 24 hours, the 49ers can place them on IR. They're eligible to return after 4 games. When that happens, 2 roster spots will open up. One of those roster spots will go to Tyler Kroft. 42 catches a few years ago for Cincinnati. Tyler Kroft had a good preseason for the 49ers. So you're going to look at a tight end room with Kittle, Dwelley, Werner, and Kroft. And I think that's a decent tight end room at the very least. Everybody was concerned about depth behind Kittle to start this training camp. By the end of preseason, I don't think it was much of an issue. Kroft made some plays, made that nice catch from Nate Sudfeld. I think that we're definitely in a situation where the 49ers, again, are going to run the crap out of the football, and having 4 tight ends is going to help them toward that goal. All right, offensive line. Williams, Banks, Brendel, Burford, McGlinchey, McKivitz, Brunskill, Moore, and Nick Zakelj, the rookie Nick Zakelj out of Fordham. Big news. Poe didn't make it, but Nick Zakelj did make it. And that was something that developed over the course of training camp. Poe did well, I thought, all of training camp. But I think that the 49ers, if I need to answer questions about him, I think that they saw somebody who's going to be able to clear waivers, undrafted free agent versus the draft pick Zakelj, undersized compared to Zakelj. And if Poe can clear waivers, the 49ers will sign him to the practice squad and the development will continue. That's why they didn't carry Poe on the 53. They needed an extra spot for other usage. But with Nick Zakelj, you're looking at a player who improved markedly over the course of training camp. Didn't look good at all early. Toward the end of preseason, he had really, really improved. And that's why he made this roster. Another reason why he made this roster, as you can see here, I've slotted him in as a guard behind Aaron Banks. But another reason that he made the roster is that this trend and this path, this trajectory of rapid improvement that Nick Zakelj showed actually mirrored what we saw from him at lower levels of football. We saw it at college in Fordham where they were like, what the hell is this when he first showed up on campus. And then he turned into one of their most dominant offensive linemen ever, played tackle for Fordham. And we saw it at the Senior Bowl where Zakelj was getting pancaked earlier in the week, but by the end of the week, he was winning. By the time the game hit, he was winning. Well, that same trajectory of improvement that Nick Zakelj showed for the 49ers over the course of that showed it for Fordham and for the Senior Bowl evaluators over the course of longer and then shorter periods of time. He showed over a definite shorter period of time, a 1 month long period of time with the 49ers. And that's why Nick Zakelj is part of this roster. No other real surprises. People say, why Jalen Moore? Well, he made the team last year. He's got tackle guard flexibility. And the 49ers definitely need some tackle depth with Mike McGlinchey slowly returning from that knee injury. Moving to the D-line, they only took 9, but that's not, there's an asterisk there. They released Jordan Willis, the block, right? Special teams blocking against Green Bay, punt block. They're going to bring him back. I talk about them bringing back Croft. So the same thing for Jordan Willis. 2 spots will open up when Jimmy Ward and Curtis Robinson go on injured reserve tomorrow. So the 49ers will bring back Jordan Willis, and he'll be part of that defensive line room. Kamoko Toure, however, will not be part of the D-line room. 5.5 sacks and a good preseason, apparently not enough to make this very crowded 49ers roster, and specifically this very crowded 49ers defensive line room. And they may be the only team in the NFL that has the luxury of not taking a guy like that. And Toure might be a victim of the fact the 49ers needed to take 3 QBs. I mean, there are opportunity costs all across the roster, and it's not just 3 QBs. It's the fact they took 5 running backs as well. And when you do that, when you load up the numbers at one position, another position has to pay for it. The D-line, we speculated they might get 11 bodies there. They're technically only going to get 10, right? After all these technicalities are sorted out tomorrow, and the 49ers do add that extra body, Jordan Willis, back into the fold, they'll have 10 defensive linemen. Linebackers, 6 of them, but that's only because they stashed Robinson for IR purposes. Theoretically, only 5 here. Warner, Greenlaw, Alshire, Burks, and Flanagan Fowles. Expect the practice squad for Sugun Olubi. Expect the practice squad for Marcelino McCrary-Ball. 2 undrafted free agents, speedy linebackers. Those are both guys who the 49ers look at as future developmental projects. But for this year, the favorites won out. The first 4 were never in question, and Flanagan Fowles, I think, had a commanding lead for that 5th spot throughout the entire offseason. Cornerback, 49ers take 5, and remember, Jason Verrett's on the PUP list, so he's eligible to come back after 4 games this season, but it's not a roster concern right now. All right, so we're going to go through all of these guys. Charvarius Ward, A-list corner. Emmanuel Mosley, really improving. Cornerback 2, we'll see where Verrett slots in as time progresses. Samuel Womack earned that nickelback spot. The last time that Kyle Shanahan coached or was on a staff that saw a rookie nickelback in the NFL starting at that position, 2014, K'Wan Williams for the Cleveland Browns. Kyle was the offensive coordinator then. K'Wan started for the Browns, did a good job. And now, so many years later, Kyle is looking to succeed K'Wan with the 49ers with Samuel Womack, another rookie. Ambry Thomas, he was always going to make this roster. I didn't think there was ever a question there, even though some people, I think, were talking a lot about him. But, I mean, he was dealing with an injury this camp, and obviously he delivered a walk-off interception to send the 49ers to the playoffs last year. And Diamador Lenore, who gives the 49ers some depth behind Samuel Womack at that nickelback position. Now, we didn't see Quantrez Knight make the team. I think he's a practice squad candidate, especially with his safety nickelback adaptability. I think Tariq Castro-Fields is a P squad candidate for the 49ers as well. He came along at the end of training camp and preseason, but I never expected either of those 2 guys to make this initial 53-man roster. Here's what that roster looks like at the safety position. You've got Jimmy Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, George Odom, and Tarvarius Moore. Will Jaquiski Tartt fit? Well, if he does, they're going to have to release somebody else. Moore's on the final year of his contract. I'm not saying they're going to release him, but I'm just explaining how this is all structured for the 49ers. So either you carry 5 or 4 safeties once Ward goes to IR tomorrow with somebody like Jaquiski Tartt in tow, and you have to release somebody elsewhere on the roster, or obvious that the permutations, I don't think I have to go through every single one of them, but what you do need to know is that there's a limit to roster size, and 53 is the limit at any given one time. IR can help you get around it, and we'll see where the 49ers feel and what they feel about their roster in the coming days. But they've got about a week and a half, a little bit more, until the regular season. And they have to figure out a way to replace Jimmy Ward, who's got that torn hamstring and is currently on his way to injured reserve. Finally, special teams, no surprises here. Gold, Wishnowsky, and Pepper. So I went through all of the position groups for you. Tyler Croft and Jordan Willis have agreed to sign in IR swaps later this week. That's important to remember. And carrying 5 running backs is unprecedented for Shanahan. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways of looking at this roster. They're going to run the hell out of the football. 5 backs, 4 tight ends. Almost like makes your head spin with how much the 49ers are emphasizing that, when you consider Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel will also get their fair share of runs. And 3 quarterbacks, well, the reason the 49ers did that is for that team control. So anyway, go and check out this roster breakdown. It's up on The Athletic. I'm going to copy and paste this, put it in the chat section right now. Go ahead and see that. And then make sure you check out Matt Barrow's article, because Shanahan and Lynch, everything that they said yesterday about Jimmy Garoppolo, everything we said about Jimmy Garoppolo ended up being what Shanahan and Lynch said today. That's what they feel about the Garoppolo Trey Lance dynamic. They feel good about it. You don't have to worry about it. I know there's a lot of drama, but why don't we just try to filter that out? That's Matt's piece. It's also up on our page right now. But that is the 49ers 53-man roster. It's official. We can now turn the page toward getting ready for this regular season in earnest. When the 49ers are back out at practice on Thursday, they will be practicing with the Bears in mind. Training camp officially over a while ago, but now it's even symbolically done. 49ers are going to be moving into regular season practice mode. And with that, stuff is going to be really, really interesting, because Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be back as well. No longer on the side field. Jimmy's going to be on that main field for the 49ers. I will have a Jimmy Garoppolo contract breakdown, all those incentives for you at some point a little bit later. So hope you enjoyed the show. 49ers 53-man roster is official. Check everything out. Follow me on Twitter. And of course, subs to The Athletic on top of subbing to this channel and liking this video. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.